I myself, Dr. K. Rajashekhar. I am going to deal with the science and technology part. So we are talking about TSPSC Group 1 Mains Orientation, and specifically we are going to deal with science and technology part. Correct? So what is the weightage of science and technology for Group 1 Mains? 100 marks. Okay, exactly 100 marks. Because we have two sections. In paper 5, there are two sections. Two sections dedicated to science and technology, one section for data interpretation. Correct? So we are going to discuss about the details of this syllabus. So paper 5, sections, both section 1 and section 2. Section 1 and section 2 both are related to SNT, and section 3 in paper 5 is related to data interpretation. Okay? So one thing we all have to keep in mind is science and technology is a highly scoring subject. It is highly scoring subject. There is specific information that we are focusing here. If you are able to figure that out, there is a better scope of getting better rank. You know why? Because we know we can predict most of the questions in this. We can predict most of the questions given the syllabus, and the advantages that TSPSC students have is choice. If you carefully choose the topics that we are studying here, it is possible, of course with certain amount of risk, it is possible for us to answer most of the questions, because you can eliminate the things that you probably have not studied well, or you don't have good amount of content or revision that you have done. You can skip them. So you have an option to choose between the topic. So if you really have a better understanding about the syllabus, you can actually prepare in a way that you can answer most of these questions and score better. And second benefit is you can score, like number of points that you would get for each question can also be improved. Given that there is not too much of theory behind this, you know what to write for each question. Each concept has specific points that you can add. If you prepare well, definitely there is a better option of scoring better for each question, which would improve, even 5-6 marks extra would improve your score significantly, right? Your rank significantly, right? That can be done with science and technology part. But first and foremost thing here is understanding the syllabus. Do you guys have a basic idea about how syllabus is framed? Have you looked into the syllabus of science and technology? Okay, first I'll give you overall idea about this, and feel free to ask me questions wherever you are unsure what to study, how much to study, so that this class should help you in figuring out the level of understanding that you would require for this part. Okay, right. So section 1, section 2 we are going to focus first, and I also going to deal with the section 3 of the paper 4, environment part and ecology part also I am going to deal with, but that is part of another paper. So first we will talk about paper 5 and 2 sections of paper 5, and our goal here is to understand the syllabus component, and there are some hidden topics, because one of the confusion that students usually have, how much to read, because syllabus looks actually indeed very short, but what needs to be covered? If you look into the old papers, the type of questions that have been asked, there are more topics that can be asked, which they are hidden under some of the common or broad areas discussed in the syllabus. That is a challenge for students, which we are going to deal here. So let's start with section 1 and section 2. Section 1 part and section 2 part. So first we'll start with the section 1, which is kind of an introductory science and technology part. Along with that we have few areas like space technology, information and communication technology, energy are given here. So key themes if you notice here, so we have 5 units, right? There are totally 5 units. Unit 1 is a kind of introductory unit. It is kind of introductory unit. That gives you more broader picture about role of science and technology. So what do we need to learn here? Syllabus says classical and emerging areas of science and technology. Very broad term. Traditionally how science and technology used to look, what are the new areas of science and technology? In a way, they can ask about anything in science and technology here. This is bit challenging unit. I'll tell you strategy wise how we have to deal with it, but for now let's understand the syllabus given here. So classical and emerging areas of sciences. Classical and emerging areas of sciences. But one advantage with this is we study most of those already in other units. We cover most of the unit 1 as part of other units, because other units are specifically talking about different areas of science and technology. We cover their classical and emerging areas there. So in a way that is covered as part of the other units. So value addition by science and technology. Some terms given here are very vague. Defining it, knowing what goes under this is definitely a challenge. They are saying value addition of science and technology. Meaning it's nothing but what are the different applications of science and technology, what are the different uses of science and technology in different sectors. So value addition, how it is improvising quality of human life. So range of things, it is communication technology, it is space tools, it is defense sector, etc. They are all influencing our day-to-day life. So they all can be connected here. And usually they are not asking very broad questions. Of course, this is first TSPSC such exam we are seeing, although we have seen a re-exam in 2017, right? So this exam can be, probably one first experience to many students. Even for us, it is difficult to predict what type of paper is going to be. We base all our understanding on previously happened APPSC or combined state exams. Okay, and partly we can take idea from UPSC science and technology part as well. If they actually focus on the way UPSC questions are asked, we can check that. But in both the cases, what I have noticed, questions are more specific. They ask about specific thing, talk about nanotechnology, its application in medicine. Okay, or they talk about discuss different applications of nanotechnology in various sectors. So we have to prepare in a way that we have key points for each sector. What are the potential sectors? What are the key points that go into each of them? Keeping in mind, all this has to be crisp, because we are writing about 150 words to maximum 200 words. So 2 sides, 2 pages basically that we are focusing on here. So within that, in a crisp manner, how do you answer? What content should go into it is very important. So first unit, as I was telling you, is a generic unit. So they are talking about value addition by science and technology. So mostly we are talking about here applications or uses, how it is improvising our quality of life. So mostly here we focus on applications of science and technology, which anyway we do in other units. There is nothing specifically that you have to study here. Okay, and then current science and technology developments in India and importance of science and technology as an engine for national development. So current developments, what are newly developing areas? Current developments in S&T sector. Current developments of S&T, they specified this. Current science and technology developments in India. So I remember one student asking me, should we focus too much on the global areas? Not much, unless there is a comparative analysis possible. You don't have to learn about what America doing, what Japan doing on this. It is mostly dedicated to India. Few areas it is important for us to compare with what similar things have been done by other countries. Otherwise, don't worry too much about looking into global science and technology developments. But area wise anyway, irrespective of whether Indian scientists or American scientists, we collect examples, global examples we collect. There anyway you are satisfying that requirement, but otherwise no need for focusing too much globally, but where possible, for a comparison sake, we do take examples of global developments in science and technology. Otherwise it is being specified as Indian related. Okay, and importance, science and technology developments in India, importance of science and technology as an engine for national development. What is the role of science and technology? What is the role of science and technology in national development? What does that mean? Basically again talk What applications? Uses of science and technology in different sectors. Why do we need space technology tools for national development? Is there any connection between space tools in national development? Where? Agriculture, education, telemedicine. We do use space technology tools. Are they important for national development? Very much. Think about ICT, communication technology. We are talking about 5G being launched last month. Is that important for ensuring certain applications work smoothly? Very much. Are they part of national development? Are we using these tools for ensuring better security for citizens? So there are many examples starting from basic communication technologies to utilizing something like augmented reality, quantum computing, supercomputers. They all are addressing certain issues that we are facing as a nation. So technology plays a very, very important role in national development. Again, it is nothing but knowing the connection between role or different areas of science and technology, what they are addressing, what type of issues they are addressing in the country. A very broad, I doubt if they are going to ask a question that generic. In case if they ask, we are talking about ICT, space technology, energy technologies, etc. You just take diverse points from each of these areas, put under them. So in a way, this is also being covered as part of other units. Luckily for APPSC that I have noticed, they talk quite a bit about scientists, organizations, contributions. Even here, although they have not mentioned, as part of development they can ask what is the role of CCMB, what is NIN doing. So organizations that we have, central organizations that we have, key research organizations that we have in India, especially in Telangana, are possible, and we have many such organizations developed around Hyderabad. It could be NIN, it could be CCMB, it could be IICT, it could be NRSC. So there is a remote possibility of asking questions, but how many such institutions you will get into? We'll do this last. In the end, you can briefly collect data about such institutions. APPSC has given that question in last mains. Discuss about role of different organizations in Hyderabad, in Telangana, because most of those are centered here around Hyderabad. That is, such questions are possible. Otherwise, we don't have too much of emphasis in the syllabus to focus on specific organizations or specific scientists, because there are too many of them. That, I think in that sense we are lucky, because handling this unit becomes actually little better, both for teachers as well as students, because teaching about all scientists and their contributions will drag to a level where you can't remember much. So that's not a problem here. So science and technology as an engine for national development and industrial development and urbanization. So you talk about not only national development, we talk about how science and technology playing role in industries, industrial development. Different industries like communication sector, okay, remote sensing sector, TV channels, okay, so internet services, all these are surviving on science and technological developments. Today we have such great amount of action that we have seen for 5G. Why? Because many companies have developed services that rely on science and technological developments. Drone sector, recently we have heard that government has relaxed, last year they relaxed drone regulations. Now many industries are focusing on producing new form of drones with different uses. So industries do thrive on such technologies. Look at energy, solar panel production, windmill production. There are many industries utilize developments in science and technology. You take those examples and write. We'll discuss all of them as part of different units in detail. So industrial development and urbanization. Urbanization. One clear example that you can take for urbanization, like our national mission, smart cities mission. They are creating smart cities mission to incorporate smart tools, again to improve the quality of life. That is a key objective of smart cities mission, which is supposed to end this year. So urbanization, transport, artificial intelligence can be used in dealing with the transport issues that we have. Ever increasing demand for transport and ever decreasing space. AI tools, artificial intelligence tools, IoT sensors, better traffic management, smart infrastructure. So signaling that normally happens. You're talking about channelizing. Yes. incorporating, right? So using any of those GPS tools you can think about, navigational tools you can think about, basically handling the crowd management or handling the traffic by utilizing tools. It could be ICT tools because Telangana is well known for communication technology developments. Okay, so such tools can be discussed about with respect to urbanization. Waste management. Waste management, how waste management done? In Telangana, government has established many waste to energy generation power plants because waste is becoming a source now, and we are addressing the gaps in generating electricity for the state. So those things we can focus on in urbanization part. So in a way, these are the parts that they have mentioned in the unit 1, which generally deals with many topics that are covered as part of the other units. But what I would do, what I would ask you to do here, in addition to this, there are few topics given in the unit 2 which can be studied together here, because I believe they should go into unit 1. What are they? Policy framework, science and technology policy, which is also generic. So unit 2, they talk about national policy of science and technology. So this can be combined here. So I am writing that part of the unit 2 here. Science and technology policy or SNT policy framework in India. This is very specific question. 2020, a new draft, new science and technology innovation policy has been, a draft has been created. In the context of that, this is very, very potential. So evolution of policies. Here we talk about how policies, science and technology policies got evolved in India. How many different policies with what objectives. So that is one possible question, but less likely I believe, but still possible. So knowing what are the different types of science and technology policies have come in India, and know more about the recent policy. Recent policy is a draft policy which was launched in 2020. So 2020 draft STI policy, science and technology innovation policy. Science and technology innovation policy, they call STIP 2020. Science and technology innovation policy 2020. Key points, how this is different from the traditional, the previous science and technology policy. When was the last policy was given in India? Which year? How long ago? 2013. Science and technology, first science and technology innovation policy came in 2013. This is 2020 innovation policy. This is an improvisation on the previous policy, which is about 9 years old. Okay, so maybe a comparison. If they want to ask you between comparison between old policy, new policy, changes that happened from old to new, if they want to give analytical questions, make your life little difficult, is possible. Okay, doing that, approaching that way. What policies have existed in India, what are the key objectives of that policy, what is the newest policy talking about, how is it different from the previous policy. So these are the areas we can focus on policy, which should go into unit 1 actually, because it is about general handling of science and technology in the country. Then the next one that goes into this part as well is technology missions, science and technology missions. Okay, so technology missions, this can be given here. Syllabus is framed in such a way it is unclear whether they are talking about SNT technology missions or ICT technology missions. But to my knowledge, they are referring to, because India has some specific technology missions that are framed. So here, focusing on studying those, I think we have about 9 technology missions. Knowing each technology mission briefly can be asked as a short note, or can be asked together. Discuss India's key technology missions, proposed technology missions. Mission on AI, mission on quantum computing, like language related mission that we have, language processing tools that we are working on. So there are 9 dedicated missions. Knowing those missions specifically, I think these should be studied together. I believe the most important part, if you have to choose, is these 2 from unit 1, policies and technology missions. Remaining, through your preparation from other units, you can answer most of those questions, either generic or specific. Even if you look into the questions from the past papers, you can't differentiate much. It is general science and technology part with specific questions though. Agriculture sector, talk about technological role in agriculture sector. Questions can be asked like that. Are they asked about big data? Things that probably are influencing at a great extent as a newly developing fields. and participating or playing an important role in national development. Okay, this is about the unit 1 part. So most of this preparation should happen through the other units, except for policy, technology, missions we have to study separately. Possible questions here, potential questions here, evolution of policy, talk about current policy, compare it with the last innovation policy. Technology missions, general ask you about all technology missions as brief, or selected technology missions can be asked as short notes. Because at times it is possible to give 2 5-marker questions, not 1 10-marker, 2 5-marker short notes are possible. At times we have seen in APPSC exams 3 short notes are given, which is actually better. If you know about all 3 of them, writing crisply about what the key idea about those parts are easier, provided you know about all of them. Better scoring compared to a generic question. So we should be prepared for short notes. Mostly I believe 10-marker questions will come, maybe some 5 markers, a remote possibility of asking 3.3 marks. So 3 questions out of 1 10-marker. Yes. Deeper about what technologies? We'll come to that. I'll come to that. Okay? Because we are only addressing. No, this is only I am covering the general part of it. We'll go into unit 2 details now. Because I prefer students to read it thematically. Because they have clubbed, I believe, with no proper understanding about what goes in where. Because if you can clearly feel it is not written by experts. The syllabus is not written by experts. So lot of it is a little clumsy. Okay. So that is why I put it separately here. Now I am going to talk about each unit separately, where how much of deeper understanding is required for each of those areas, like what you asked about artificial intelligence. I am going to specify what dimensions probably are more important for our preparation. So now I am going to deal with the specific part of the unit 2, because this part should go together with unit 1. Specific part of unit 2 or second part of unit 2 deals with ICT. Information and communication technology. Very, very important, keeping in mind developments that are happening in Telangana. ICT is very important, but syllabus looks very short. It looks very, very short, as you see. What are they saying? Basics in computers. Basics in computers. So computer basics, they keep it classical. One, because the syllabus has been framed long ago, right? So it remained the same. They didn't want to change it. So computer basics remained here. I'll tell you what probably to focus here. Computer basics they are talking about. And then robotics. Robotics. It is being said as nano, but I suggest you to deal nano separately. Robotics. And communication technologies. Communication, nanotechnology and communication they put together, which sounds as if they want the role of nanotechnology in communication. But overall, nanotechnology is a huge field. Communication is only one sector where nanotechnology is playing a role. So just focusing on nanotechnology and communication don't make much sense. Just because of the keyword they have given in the syllabus, they can ask you about other aspects of nanotechnology. I want you to focus on nanotechnology separately. I'll tell you what dimensions we should focus. Let us first figure out about ICT. Basics in computers. So traditionally, it is about different components of computers. Input devices, output devices, all sorts of basic things. Internet, working of internet. So those type of basics we will focus on here. So basics of computers. If say they decide to actually stick to the old syllabus to a level where they ask specific questions, not focusing on contemporary developments, then some factual questions are possible from this. Like all sorts of things. Basic computers you can think about, like working of a computer, starting from working of a computer, parts of a computer, like input devices, output devices, or internet has become a common tool, talking about internet, okay, like input and output tools and other things, like you may start talking about evolution of computers, how computers have evolved, different generations of computers, okay, generations of computers. Storage, how storage happens. So those type of basic things partly we have to prepare, given they talked about basics, basic parts of the computers. So basics in computers, or it could be terminology which would be part of contemporary developments. Discuss these following terms in the context of ICT, information and communication technologies. Okay, otherwise traditionally it talks about background of computers, the basic, any competitive exams people study about parts of computers etc. can be covered under this, or terminology. Anyway, majority of the terminology related to us will be discussed here. Otherwise syllabus looks as if they are asking us to focus only on robotics and only on communication technology. Communication is obvious, 5G is recently launched. Either they can ask to focus on evolution, meaning from 1G to 5G, how the journey happened, how different communication technologies have evolved over a period of time, with specific focus on 5G. They may ask about compare 4G with 5G, 4G versus 5G, 4th generation communication technologies as compared to 5th generation communication technology. Okay, or talk about 5G applications. What are the applications that 5G, 5th generation communication technology satisfies? Or they can ask about what challenges did India face, because there was a huge delay in launching 5G in India. What are the challenges? What India had to go through here? What India had to go through? Like auction, for example, what problems that we had? What are the problems briefly at the end of service providers? They have to have new equipment being ready now. The way different systems are going to work in providing 5G is going to be different. New investments are required, new burden on service providers. Such things you can discuss. This is focusing on, in case if they ask you what are the applications possible with 5G, discuss challenges. So we have to prepare on key applications of 5G and certain issues, including those issues that government has faced in launching 5G. Or in proper implementation of 5G, how much time will it take? How much money or investment will go into it for adoption of this? Will take time. So those type of things you can discuss here. So communication is more or less clear. Or other possibilities either come under computer basics or this wireless communication technologies. Short notes are possible on wireless communication technologies. Wireless technologies. Like we hear quite a bit about, like of course Wi-Fi we talk about, Li-Fi, light fidelity we talk about, RFID, radio frequency identification we talk about, Bluetooth. So these are possible in short notes from ICT. Range of wireless communication technologies that we use day to day. Brief comparison and brief understanding about these technologies. Wi-Fi, Li-Fi, RFID, Bluetooth, to name few examples here. NFC, near field communication. Optical communications, where we have some of these things come under, like Li-Fi comes under. Such things are also very much possible to be asked from communication. Communication is in a way more or less straightforward. And again in the classes I believe we'll discuss about a brief process of how communication is established, briefly, which goes into the evolution of communication technology. To some extent, not too deep, but some extent understanding about GSM, CDMA phones, okay, how information is allocated differently in different generations. A brief idea, because if they ask about evolution, using such terminology is important. And I don't think they're expecting you to have a great expertise, great detailed understanding about it. Even if you superficially talk about it with specific terms and logical connection is what is expected, because people from all sorts of backgrounds prepare to this. And as an administrator, what level of understanding you would need to find solutions to the problems at different levels. So proper understanding of technologies and their limitations are important. Right, if at all we stick to the syllabus, focusing on this and robotics. Robotics is also straightforward. How robots work, what are the applications of robots, Okay, working of robots. So working of robots, a basic understanding of a robot, and then applications of robot, where in which sectors robots are being used, specifically humanoid robots they talk about, and are robots actually taking jobs away from us? Debates in robots and job losses. So this, should this field be regulated? Those aspects can be touched. Brief working, basic working of robots, uses of robots, job losses due to recruiting robots, any statistical data that it shows. What is the rate of robotic usage in India? How many jobs are being lost because of such things, either artificial intelligence or robotics? Are any new jobs created? Where are they created? Knowing statistics related to that and try to convince, like whether it is taking jobs, if so where, and if at all it is creating jobs, what should be our new approach towards this? That is what the syllabus is asking for. If you see, it doesn't specify anything else, but there are so many areas happening in ICTs that syllabus has not included, which could either go into this or go into unit 1. So what should we focus here? What are the other potential areas that can be asked? Even if you look into old papers, combined state exams, what type of things have been asked which are not even mentioned in the syllabus? What are the other potential areas that can be asked from ICT? They can say these are all evolving fields, these are all emerging technologies. So we can discuss under unit 1, but they are related to ICTs. What are such areas? Like you're talking about artificial intelligence, right? AI, artificial intelligence. So these are other potential areas that can be asked in the exam, very much possible. One is AI, artificial intelligence. IoT, big data, blockchain, augmented reality, virtual reality, supercomputers, quantum computers, because supercomputing mission, national mission is coming to an end. Quantum computing mission has recently started. Aren't these type of topics possible in the exam? Very much possible, but they are not written in the syllabus. But they are part of emerging areas. They are highly influencing the way governance is working in the country. They are highly influencing the way applications are delivered to people, e-governance. So there are many hidden areas, although it looks very short. This is one of the key area, of course. They can only ask, looks like 2 questions from this. 1 question you are going to answer from this. But it could be one classical question, okay, or communication, or any of the emerging areas. And such question can even come in the unit 1, first question or second question. You'll get in the first question itself, is possible. Next thing is how deeper understanding is needed for this. What could be a potential question on AI, artificial intelligence? They can ask on define AI, define artificial intelligence, talk about potential applications of artificial intelligence. Keeping in mind, India is working on developing a national mission for AI. One of the technological missions that we study is AI mission, AI for all, they say. Niti Aayog has led a strategic document back in 2018 on this. There is a strategic document which tells what should be the India's approach, where should, meaning in what sectors India should focus on for developing AI tools, and what challenges India is going to face is clearly specified. So that is the level that we need here for artificial intelligence, knowing what is AI, and in the process, while explaining, if they say what is your understanding about AI, if they ask, you should be able to explain how artificial intelligence is added to machines. Here few things, few terms you have to discuss, like machine learning, deep learning, artificial neural networking. So we should be able to explain certain terms in connection with this, not in depth. Simple definition. Machine learning allows adding artificial intelligence component to machines, make them behave like humans, at least in certain aspects. with the help of tools called deep learning and artificial neural networking. Even utilizing such terms with a basic understanding is important here. I don't think you have to program computers, you don't have to understand how ML is actually done. No. Knowing the terminology, meaning of it in the right context. I think that's the level you go into in the technology part. Remaining things has to be focusing on different applications of AI. Focusing on India's strategy. What is our strategy? And as for official information, what challenges we are going to focus, or any articles you can pick up. Yojana, I think couple of months ago, had an article on this, artificial intelligence and machine learning. Okay, this is also potential area for SS. We get a question from SNT, Science and Technology, artificial intelligence. These are new generation, we call fourth industrial revolution technologies. Such things. So we follow similar approach for IoT. What are IoTs? What are the applications of IoTs? India is developing a strategy for this. Big data. Big data, mostly understanding big data, understanding the uses, where big data is being used. Already big data being used in many areas. That's different, right? Cloud, edge storage, for example. So picking up the data. There are sources for the data, but cloud is one platform. Even that can be asked. I think this has been asked in APPSC exam. Cloud computing has been asked. Big data has been asked. And they were never mentioned in syllabus. Such things are possible. IoT, big data, blockchain, same idea. What is blockchain? How does blockchain work? A brief understanding about it. You should be able to briefly explain in couple of steps how blockchain operates. What is a block? Whatever information goes into the block. What are the key features of blockchain technology? It's a digital ledger, they say, and it cannot be changed, decentralized in nature, and requires consensus by many nodes in a given system. Highly secured. Transparency is possible in different sectors. Talk about features, key features, which are nothing but advantages of using blockchain. As in applications, you talk about virtual currencies, Bitcoin, right? And recently we have heard that government is working on creating our own currency. The technology behind that is blockchain. In economy, you probably study about volatility, problems related to virtual currencies. But here, yes, and here we talk about, we focus on how does blockchain operate. Bitcoin or other virtual currencies is only one of them. And nowadays we are talking about NFTs, non-fungible tokens. And such non-fungible tokens also operate on blockchain technology. Voting, registrations, RTA works, land pooling, health records maintenance, range of examples are there. Know for each area 4 to 5 applications. Where possible, specific examples from Telangana, because we have fiber, national fiber optics as program. Under that we also have Telangana T-Fiber programs that we have. Many applications, e-governance applications we have developed in Telangana. Knowing them, knowing such examples to add value to your answers. Telangana specific examples. ICT is one such area where many developments have taken place. We are utilizing already blockchain technology in land registrations, RTA works, mentioning those. Okay, so but overall idea has to be this. Idea has to be focusing on the concept, applications, if there is any national strategy in development, knowing that, or if it is missions, supercomputing mission, they can ask what are supercomputers, uses, current status of supercomputing mission. Write a note on national supercomputing mission, what is the progress, because it is coming to end now. They can ask about progress, very much possible on those areas. It could be supercomputing mission, it could be quantum computing, or it could be even something like BharatNet under National Digital India Mission, BharatNet, because it's supposed to be done by now. Frequently in the news we hear about BharatNet project and its status. So lot of scope in ICTs, lot of scope, many areas, and each of them either prepare as a 5 marker for things like AI, blockchain, quantum computing, supercomputing, even 10 marker questions are possible. This is one area where although syllabus looks 2-line syllabus, but lots of reading happens here. Okay, so many terms are here, so short notes are very much possible here, or long answer 10 marker questions are possible here. Okay, that is about unit 2. So that is why I kept policy, technology, missions away from this, although little overlap between technology, missions and ICT, but that you can separately deal with and talk about all this IT and communication technology tools. I believe questions like 5G is very, very potential given recent launch has happened. Otherwise any questions, AI, big data, etc. can all be asked. So even if you prepare for good amount of areas, you still have an option to leave a question in choice. But focus on these key areas. Artificial intelligence, blockchain, quantum computing, 5G are important in this. Okay, that brings us to the next units, next 2 units together, 3 and 4. 3 and 4 both are related to space technology. They have put together, they put 2 units dedicated to same space technology, which could be actually combined together and studied. So next we are going to talk about unit 3. Again, highly predictable. We know what type of questions actually can come from this. We can define the entire scope of this unit with enough confidence. Okay, so what is given in the syllabus? Lot of redundancy, lot of repetition that you see in the syllabus here. So let's divide this into specific parts. So what is important in space technology? What is being mentioned here? So this is how you can divide it. It says space program in India, its applications with special reference to industrial, agriculture, rural development. This is how I am going to organize this information. There is more focus on applications, but applications usually come in the end. So you combine them from both unit 3 and 4. Because 3 says space program in India and its applications with special reference to industries, agriculture, rural development. Then they have given categories of satellites, INSAT, IRS, EduSat and a mission, Chandrayaan-1. In the unit 4 they talked about applications again with reference to education, agriculture, industry. It is same thing that is being spread to different areas. So let's figure it out, the different sectors of applications. But before that they are talking about space program in India. What do we need to learn in space program in India? First of all, we need certain basics related to space technology tools. What are they? It could be different orbits, it could be launch vehicles, different fuels, different satellites, and again under this we talk about remote sensing satellites or earth observatory satellites and navigation satellites. In UPSC we have seen a question on discuss India's navigation satellite system. What type of satellites go, where, in what orbits they are placed, what are the known cases of applications of navigation satellites in India. That can be a 10 marker question. Communication satellites, remote sensing satellites, navigation satellites. It is very much possible to ask a question on, we have recently named GSM into LVM, LVM3. Generic name is being given to this. So they can ask on this LVM3 or GSLV Mark 3 or even PSLV can be asked. Given lot of credit goes to PSLV in the success of space technology progress in the country. Okay, so PSLV, LVM3 can be compared. They can ask to compare GSLV versus PSLV, discuss, or simply talk about PSLV, how it actually contributed to the development of space program in India. Question can be asked like that. Then I believe missions. The another important area is missions. Although when syllabus was framed, we had Chandrayaan 1, but we also have Mangalyaan, MOM1 or simply Mangalyaan. We also launched Chandrayaan 2, one of the recent developments, 2019 of course, but this is new for the syllabus that is given here. Chandrayaan 2. We also have not only past missions, current planned missions. Aditya, mission Aditya or Aditya L1 mission, Gaganyaan, Chandrayaan 3. But of course Chandrayaan 3 not much because it's only an extension of missing part of the Chandrayaan 2. But mentioning that because they are just adding now whatever went missing in Chandrayaan 2, second part, rover and lander part. So which anyway you would study under Chandrayaan 2, but this is going to happen as part of Chandrayaan 3 now. Other things that are possible, we have seen in the past type of questions is satellites. Some selected satellites. Like in the past they have asked about INSAT 3D satellite. Similarly, there are some selected remote sensing satellites like EMISAT. These are some special satellites that we launched. EMISAT, HISIS, Cartosat. So there is a potential of asking short notes on given satellites, or we have only single astronomical satellite called AstroSat. So this is how the information has to be structured. Then you talk about applications. How does space program work in India? They can even ask on ISRO, briefly on ISRO, ISRO's achievements, timeline can be asked. Anyway, you study them under launchers, fuel development, etc. You have to just combine them together to explain about ISRO and achievements of ISRO. Then applications. Then look at whatever applications they are asking in all together here. So we can start with rural development, rural applications in rural development, applications in education, applications in medicine, applications in industry, applications very important, agriculture, okay, and other areas, disasters, applications in disaster management, applications in disaster management. Okay, they are specified here, like role of this in floods, cyclones, tsunami, natural and man-made disasters, role of satellite and satellite tools. There are many case studies that are available on this. We can pick up specific examples of satellites, how they have been used in dealing with different disasters in India. So with examples you can write about how space technology tools are important in disaster management. Otherwise each area, rural development with examples, with space technology programs, ISRO programs, education, there were dedicated satellites for this. Telemedicine, same thing. Industry, many industries thrive on space technology tools. Now we're talking about private players are allowed. Now they're developing manufacturing launch vehicles. They are going to build satellites for us. They are going to bring new applications. They are going to take space technology to a complete new level. Can be asked in the exam. They can ask about reforms, new reforms in space technology sector. Okay, there are few other miscellaneous things that are possible here. Otherwise, this is what we should focus for unit 3 and 4 in space technology. Okay, unit 5, energy resources, energy. Unit 5 is focusing on energy. Okay, so energy, they are talking about energy demands, meaning how energy demand is changing. So we need to learn about few statistics here, if possible sector wise information, agriculture field how much is consuming. Okay, so different sectors and their consumption, how energy demand over a period of time has changed. Global and Indian scenario, or Indian scenario in comparison with some other related countries. Indian energy scenario, Indian energy scenario. So how energy is generated in energy in India, because I believe even before that the next topic, sources has to be studied. Different energy sources, different energy sources. Here we talk about renewable, non-renewable energy sources, renewable and non-renewable energy sources, and under each category they are specified here, like hydel power, thermal power, nuclear power. We need to know about details on a scenario of hydel, thermal, nuclear. Okay, what is the current status, how much of electricity production happens from hydel, briefly how hydel projects actually generate electricity. Same thing with coal, issues associated with thermal plants in India. Nuclear technology, fission reactors, how many reactors we have, how does fission work, how much of electricity is being made for, we have around 22 nuclear reactors in the country. Together, what production, what amount of electricity is coming from that. We are also working on fusion reactors. So there is very much possibility of asking question on India's efforts towards nuclear fusion. There is a dedicated international project happening where India is a member. ITER, ITER or ITER project. Fission, fusion, comparison, those type of things can be asked, or it could be key status of the reactors in the country, and strategy, India's nuclear energy strategy, 3-stage program, India's 3-stage program. Such questions have been asked in UPSC in the past. So hydel, thermal, nuclear, I believe nuclear is very important here from this part. Plus they are asking about renewable energy. Renewable energy production, so solar, wind, biomass, solar, lot of establishments have happened in India. Knowing this, programs are there, government programs are there on solar, in promoting solar energy, alliances are there, short notes are possible on this. So solar energy, India's efforts and establishments in India on solar. Similarly on wind energy, hydel anyway we will study here, it is repeated here, hydel, mini, small, mini, micro hydel they are asking about. Otherwise biomass. Biomass we study in biofuels in another unit, section 2. So there is overlap between biofuel production. So biomass can be studied there with examples. Waste, like as Telangana focusing on waste based energy, waste to energy plants, waste to energy production. Technologies are important. What methods are being used to convert waste to energy? Technologies are important here. And few other, I believe importance wise, fuel cells. We are hearing about hydrogen fuel cell cars, fuel cells. Short notes are possible, very much are possible on this. Fuel cells and geothermal tidal. Geothermal tidal, I am not sure if you are able to see this. I am going to write here. Geothermal. These are not much to ask here, just generally know about how geothermal energy works, how tidal energy works. Not many developments, it is in the very early stages. So otherwise fuel cells, waste to energy, biofuels, solar, wind are more potential. Okay. Then they asked energy security. There are some strategic documents on this. Niti Aayog has created documents on energy security. So what is energy security? How energy security is ensured in India? What steps are we taking about? Here you can even talk about energy efficiency, improving energy efficiency. Niti Aayog has given many suggestions on this. Okay, they can ask, talk about steps India can take, or steps India has been taking to ensure energy availability, which is nothing but energy security. The last one, role of science and technology, biofuel cultivation and extraction. So they are asking about related to biofuels, specifically asking about extraction and cultivation. Okay, especially with respect to bioethanol production, biodiesel production, and third generation biofuels, algal biofuels. There are methods for cultivating them, extracting them. Energy crops, you can take examples of energy crops like jatropha. A brief idea about cultivation, extraction can be done here. So look at this. Indeed, although the topics look actually very less, but the preparation amount that is required for this is vast. That is a challenge with science and technology paper. If you go with only wordings here, we can finish syllabus in 1.5–2 months preparation by student. But reality is slightly different. There are areas, many areas which can be covered here. But if you organize the information, know what they are expecting, what are the potential questions, your preparation becomes easy. For each of them, each subheading, if you cover enough points, like which of them are 10 marker possible questions. Solar can be a 10 marker question. Okay, biofuel production, different types of biofuel production or waste to energy production, 10 marker question is possible. Or discuss, compare between renewable, non-renewable energy sources. Otherwise, many short notes. Nuclear, good possibilities of 10 marker questions. India's nuclear energy program. Compare fission and fusion reactions and India's recent efforts towards fusion reactors. Focus as if you are writing a 10 marker question. As if in each of them, if it is a 5 marker question, how much do I write? Collect points according to that. Okay, that is about section 1. Any questions on section 1 before we want to section 2? Is it becoming clear? Are you able to follow the subtopics or areas that are actually given here? Yes. Basically, availability of sources, like how good India with respect to biomass, let's say, or with respect to geothermal energy. So some information on availability, potential of such resources in the country, or availability of land, for example. One of the issue with solar energy is availability of land, or availability of, or nature of idle power projects that we have, which anyway you cover in general. Availability of resources, current status, you will have an understanding about limitations, if there are any limitations, like uranium. We have very limited reserves of uranium in India. We have great amount of thorium supplies in India. Such information that you need to collect for resources. Availability, amount of resources, distribution of resources, that we have to focus. Partly in geography you probably study about these areas, which in background you need to be aware about. Okay. Section 2, Section 2 is mostly biotechnology and health. Section 2 mostly talks about biotechnology, crops, health. So again 5 units in section 2. First unit talks about crop science. This is bit factual, but indeed we must say, if you see the old syllabus that we had, there was much more than this, like microorganisms, animals, plants, their uses. Lots of information has been taken. After comparing with that, it feels actually much smaller and much easier to handle. But of course, lot of factual data that we have to remember here. So crop science, what is crop science? Basically approach or technologies that we normally use in growing crops or in cultivating crops. Science behind this. Okay, so here crop science in India, starting with little basics, characteristics of plants, fundamental components, plant parts, key processes in plant physiology, photosynthesis, transpiration. I remember seeing one question in the past on describe flower and its parts of flower. So this is little challenging for non-science students. Drawing a flower structure, answering it is little challenge. But if you are from botany or any biology backgrounds, it will be probably easier for you. But factual data, it is not too complicated. You all know, but we are not familiar with those terms. So partly they are asking about characteristics of plants. As I was telling you, it could be parts of the plant, like they have asked about flower, they can ask about leaf, those type of things. Process, key process, it could be photosynthesis, it could be transpiration, transport, like vascular system in plants, okay, pigments, hormones. So these are some key features, like basic idea about plants and certain key aspects of that. Pollination, methods of pollination. So those type of things. So first part deals with that. The second part is more straightforward, clearly defined. They are asking about different types of crops, like crop plants, different varieties of crops, and science they are asking about. So things like, I'm not sure how detailed you study them in geography. Key like staple crops in India, rice, wheat, how are they grown, what type of conditions, what type of soils. Some understanding about the crops, different crop plants that are grown in India and conditions they thrive in, or conditions in which they are cultivated. Otherwise, specific examples, like we have to collect information on forest species, various forest species, examples of them, distribution of them approximately, distribution, examples, uses. So different forest plants available in India, okay, where are they found, to what extent that we have them in India, what percentage of them are there, such information. So all this is factual. Similarly, we have to deal with medicinal and aromatic plants, medicinal plants and aromatic plants. Medicinal plants, list of medicinal plants. We have to collect examples of medicinal plants and their uses, what they are meant for, what is their use. Ashwagandha, where is it used? Neem, extracts for example. Such things are important here. Okay, list of, there are huge, because given the level of Ayurveda that is there in India, there are many plants. You can collect, let's say 6-7 examples of plants, their uses. Okay, useful and harmful plants. Basically these are all useful and harmful plants, right? Medicinal, aromatic plants, also there are set of aromatic plants in India, forest species, crops, these are all uses, right? So useful plants anyway we study as examples. So what you need to study next is harmful plants. So collect harmful or poisonous plants. Brief idea about harmful or poisonous plants in India. Set of poisonous, harmful plants. Some that cause cancers are known, some are very toxic, nervous system, they are neurotoxic in nature, like mushrooms. So collection of few examples of harmful plants to us. Few other plants need to be added, like crop plants, or you can, horticulture comes under these few examples of horticulture, pulses, nuts, etc. can be added here, or spices can be added. Otherwise this is what specified in the syllabus. So partly I believe maybe a question comes on the characteristics or types of this. Although it is little difficult for non-science students, but it is not, you don't have to read entire botany for this. Selectively, go selectively. These are, to my best knowledge, these are the possibilities of asking. Okay, I doubt, they have asked once about Bentham-Hooker classification on plants, but I highly doubt that a question. Then it's a bouncer. Right, move to the next unit. Internet, we have actually indeed Envis database collects data. So examples are written there. So internet is a better source for this, to be frank. Diversity, go with diversity. Like, you know, pick up poisonous plants, pick up different examples of plants. Go with diversity, don't spend too much of time, just collect some factual data on this. Otherwise NCERT class 12th books talk about 11th, specifically 11th, class 11th, but not specific like this. This is overlaps with many things, right? In geography also, cultivation of crops, etc. it comes. So examples mostly from government websites, government databases are there, like Envis database that you can collect, or ICAR. ICAR also talks about crop science, but they go into too many details. So no technical knowledge is needed here. It's briefly collection of examples, aromatic, medicinal, forest, okay, and crop plants. And for all this we have data. We have collected data. This is my 6th year of teaching this area. So we've collected data, we have summaries of information related to that we provide to students. And we teach our main sessions. We have all these documents, all actually for all topics we have data, specific information that is being collected and given to students. Okay, in all possible dimensions. Right, that's about unit 1, crop science. Next, unit 2 and 3 is biotechnology. Unit 2 and 3, biotechnology. It is like ICT. Many hidden topics are here in biotechnology as well, but let's see what is given in the syllabus and then we add other points. So they're asking about concept of biotechnology, application of genetic engineering. So here you have to learn about the concept behind biotechnology and genetic engineering, GE. Meaning what? You have to learn about definitions, terminology, tools in biotechnology like restriction enzymes, ligases, vectors. So those type of tools that are used in biotechnology have to be covered here. So definition, terms, tools. And another one is applications. Applications that are specified here in the syllabus, then I'll add applications. Okay, they of course mentioned about stem cells here. Stem cells. Stem cell research they talked about. So stem cell applications, they mentioned one. Otherwise, they talked about biotechnology applications in agriculture. In agri sector, how biotechnology being used. They specified even subtopics. So we have to cover only those subtopics here. Biofertilizers, biopesticides, tissue culture and cloning. So plant tissue culture it is called, PTC, plant tissue culture, biofertilizers, biopesticides. Okay, so plant tissue culture and biofuels is given here. No, cloning is given here. So cloning in agriculture you want, or you can put under this, doesn't matter. Cloning. So biofuels, biofuels. I was telling you biofuels come under energy as well as here. You can study them in one place, but talk about what are the biofuel sources, different types of biofuels that can be generated, generations of biofuels, and methods, extraction, cultivation, extraction methods of biofuels. Okay, with few bioethanol, biodiesel if you want, or third generation biofuel extraction. Those are the three possible things there. But that's it, that's what they talk about in applications. Environmental biotechnology, they also asked about environmental biotechnology, or simply they are asking to discuss about environmental cleanup using biotechnology tools. Basically they are referring to bioremediation process here. What is bioremediation? Different methods used in bioremediation process is being asked here. This is again straightforward, a 10-marker, possible 10-marker question. Define bioremediation, discuss different methods of bioremediation, what are the advantages, limitations of bioremediation process. These are the possible dimensions. Straightforward, most likely. We do hear about couple of such things happening around the globe where bioremediation is effectively used, like oil spills. With examples, you can discuss bioremediation process. Otherwise, what are the hidden topics here? What are the topics that are in the news, very much discussed, which can be discussed as part of emerging areas in biotechnology? So what else is possible? Because as per the syllabus in unit 3 part, before going to food biotechnology part, what can be covered here? What needs to be studied here? Vaccines, correct? So role of biotechnology in healthcare sector in COVID context, study with respect to, I'm writing here, COVID. What is the role of biotechnology in dealing with COVID-like problems, COVID-like pandemics? Diagnostics, short notes are possible on diagnostics, RT-PCR. Better diagnostics, better vaccines, better treatments. Vaccines, I believe, is very, very important because we anyway have a dedicated unit for this, so I am going to talk about that later. But here, diagnostics, this could also come under last unit, unit 5, immunodiagnostics, because part of immunity, vaccines. Three-parent baby. Okay, these are the areas I believe are important. IVF, in vitro fertilization and surrogacy. Surrogacy, new surrogacy regulation has been implemented in India. We need to know, this is the biotechnology tool. What is ART? Assisted reproductive technology, IVF and surrogacy. Surrogacy regulation can be asked directly. This was one of the essay question in the past. Okay, right. Cloning anyway given syllabus, right? Animal cloning can be discussed. Dolly and animal clones in agriculture being made. Many cattle in India have been cloned. Organizations involved in this. Examples of animal clones. Xenotransplantation. Okay, so xenotransplantation. This could be taken as example under stem cells or in general. Maybe a short note possible. But more than that, I believe cloning, IVF, surrogacy regulation, ART regulation, DNA fingerprinting and DNA regulation, that is in making in India. Asked in APPSC exam before. DNA fingerprinting, they asked the process, how DNA fingerprinting is conducted, done. So what is DNA fingerprinting, how is it done, where is it being used? And DNA regulation bill, what are the key features of DNA regulation bill that has been initially presented in Lok Sabha and then sent to a parliamentary committee on this. So they can ask questions on IVF, DNA regulation, and CRISPR, genome editing and CRISPR-Cas9. Right. Genome editing, I'll come to that. Genome editing, CRISPR-Cas9 systems. Working of CRISPR-Cas9 and how it has brought revolution in creating GMOs or addressing issues related to health, human health, or in general biotechnology research is potential. And you're talking about genome projects. Did you discuss? Okay. So genome sequencing has started late in India. We have many projects in the news like Indigen project, Genome India project. Importance of genome sequencing, because in the COVID-19 context we heard so much about genome sequencing of different variants. So what is genome sequencing and how briefly how this is done, not too much into technical aspects of how this is done, but a brief principle behind making genome sequencing. Uses and projects in the news. The couple of projects that Indian government is conducting to collect data about human DNA, because we always relied on foreign references. We want to have our own database so that we can have specific methods of diagnostics, specific methods of treatments, which is called pharmacogenomics. Personalized drugs, short notes are possible on these type of things. Okay, so this is biotechnology area. Biotechnology, specifically unit 2. Unit 3, food biotechnology. This is again very specific, so well defined parts, unlike part 2 or unit 2. Unit 3, we don't have to go outside what is asked here. Food safety, food quality standards. So first of all we have to learn about food biotechnology concept with examples. What is the role of biotechnology in food sector? This we need to focus first, concept with examples of biotechnology products. Then focus on Indian food field, food safety, food quality standards. Then focus on what is food safety and what is food quality standards. Here the idea is to focus on regulations in food biotechnology or food industry. Okay, food laws and regulations. Food laws and regulations. So this is straightforward. We have a dedicated food regulation in India. We have dedicated organization in India. Okay, so we have a particular law. Previously we used to have multiple laws on this, which have been merged to form an integrated law. So luckily, if you focus on integrated law on this, and what is the main authority in regulating this, how is it regulating, some recent initiatives. So these things are straightforward. Okay, food laws and regulations, but before that just defining what is food safety, what actually harms food safety, what is food quality, what is acceptable, what is not acceptable. There are some principles, key principles in food biotechnology that we need to know. Otherwise, I think most important area is regulation in India, food regulation in India. Okay, this is one part, this is all about food. Then there is small part about water. Water. So what are they asking in water here? Safe drinking water, defluoridation and other technique. So basically here you focus on water safety, techniques, different techniques being used for ensuring water safety with specific focus on removal of fluorides or defluoridation techniques. Removal of fluorides or defluoridation techniques. There are specific techniques like Nalgonda method, we have ion exchange methods. Okay, there are specific methods that can be used here. So learning few methods and importance or need for defluoridation in Telangana state. Okay, amount of fluorosis problem that we have in some districts like Nalgonda district. Give that background, what are Indian standards, WHO standards for this, how do you remove excess fluorides from water. Okay, that's about the unit 3, unit 2 and 3. So biotechnology and food. Food biotechnology, if they give questions separately on food biotechnology, easily guessable questions, not too much. We will have mostly problem with this ICT and energy because there are so many possibilities of asking. Otherwise space is also very much doable. Space you can easily bank on, this you can easily bank on. Crop science, although factually remembering things is a challenge, but should be doable. Little challenge we will have in preparation is, given the diversity, is biotechnology part and ICT part and energy part. Okay. Next 4 and 5 units, 4th units focuses on, these are both are related to human health, 4 and 5. One is about infections, another one about immunity. Okay, so infections, straightforward questions have been given, specific topics are defined. So although little vast but doable, and again bit challenge for non-science students here, because here it is not about general understanding, knowing specific things about infections, but infections we all got used to, right? Pandemics, I think doctors say we are experts in COVID-19 now, better than doctors. We all know all aspects of avoiding infections now, right? So we can use that knowledge from recent pandemic experience. But otherwise little tricky to remember few aspects here because factual data, lot of factual data here. So here what we are talking about is about infections, and first we are asking us to general infections, bacterial, viral, fungal, protozoan infection. So brief idea about bacterial infections, viral infections, fungal infections, protozoan infections. Indeed, in the past exams they asked about mycosis because fungal infections is known as mycosis, or it is actually known as mycosis. So one possibility of asking questions, discuss briefly about bacterial infections, and usually there is a tendency of giving particular subheadings. Discuss about their prevention, discuss about their mode of transmission, discuss about treatment options possible, specifically asking for a particular subheading. Okay, so like that generally they can ask about bacterial infections, viral infections, fungal infections, or protozoan infections. Each of them, anyway there are given examples in the second part. You can use them to discuss this, but briefly know about key features and key infections caused by bacteria, virus, fungi. Protozoan we have selected about 4 or 5 infections that you can remember, like malaria being the example. Okay, that is first part of the unit 4. Second part, they have listed 9 different infections. 9 different infections. They are saying basic knowledge of the infections caused by different microorganisms. There are 9 infections being given here, which can be categorized into bacterial, viral infections. Which of these are bacterial infections? The first few ones if you see. So diarrhea, dysentery, especially I'll write TB. TB, cholera, very much bacterial infections, but diarrhea, dysentery can be caused by other agents as well. Diarrhea, dysentery. Because these are symptoms which can be caused by protozoa, which can be caused by viruses, But of course we have to pick up few bacterial examples here. Bacillus dysentery and cholera, diarrhea. Okay, but you can study these three because these three are very similar. Symptoms, causes, parts affected are very similar. These three you can study together because at 9, to simplify, study these three together. Just agents are different, causative agents are different. TB, very very important because this is the biggest burden that we feel in the world. Most number of cases, highest disease burden of TB in India, very very important. So TB, all aspects, how does TB spread, what causes TB, how does it spread, how do you diagnose TB, how do you prevent TB, do we have vaccines for TB, do we have treatments for TB. Okay, after this 4, we have different viral infections given. Okay, so dysentery, cholera, TB, they have given one example for protozoan, that is malaria. Usually they used to ask questions on malarial life cycle of malaria, discussing, this is class 12th NCERT, malaria life cycle. Some of these topics are covered in class 12th NCERT. Not to great detail though, but there are many sources for this. Okay, viral infections, HIV, encephalitis, viral infections I am writing here, HIV, encephalitis, chikungunya, and bird flu or flu, avian flu or bird flu. Brief summaries of each of these infections and either asking about one particular disease or they can ask about, talk about transmission of, encephalitis, HIV, chikungunya. Even questions have been asked like that. They can combine to talk about particular aspect, that is disease spread aspect or prevention aspect. There are many dimensions are possible here, but which all fall under 4 categories of infections and these examples of infections given. But multiple ways questions can be asked. Talk about the way infections spread, talk about the way you have to prevent them, talk about different treatment options that are possible, diagnostics that are possible, or overall disease burden in India, communicable, non-communicable diseases. Okay, that's about unit 4. And then unit 5 falls into the current context of COVID-19 very much because unit 5 is all about immunity and vaccines. Immunity and vaccines. Okay, again little hidden information in the first part. Introduction to immunity. What do they mean by introduction to immunity? How much to study? What depth? So you have to develop a good understanding about working of immune system. How does our immune system work? What are the components of immune system? Here you focus on different terminology, types of immunity, different types of immunity like active immunity, passive immunity, innate immunity. Class 12th NCERT mostly covers all these aspects. Class 12th NCERT. Terms like allergy, autoimmunity, antigens, antibodies, these type of terms are very much possible. Categories are types of immunity, components of immunity. That's how you can divide this part, components of immunity. Like you can talk about different WBCs here, different antibody types. Different categories of WBC, different antibodies we call immunoglobulins. Prelims question, one of the prelims question. Types of immunoglobulins. Basic understanding. Like short notes, mostly short notes are possible unless if they want to ask about, talk about different types or compare different types of immune responses. Innate immunity, acquired immunity, there A 10 marker is possible, otherwise mostly short notes are possible from this part. Okay, like autoimmunity with examples, allergy with examples. Here types of immunity can be asked as a 10 marker. Categories of WBC, categories of immunoglobulins or antibodies. Once they asked this, I don't think anybody would predict. MHC they asked, MHC, major histocompatibility complex, its role in transplantation they asked in one of the old papers, UPSC papers. MHC. MHC is known as major histocompatibility complex. It is nothing but a particular molecule found on all our tissues, which is important for histocompatibility. Histocompatibility meaning transplantation. If you are receiving someone's body part, it has to be compatible with them. It has to match. How do they know that it matches or not? We have some molecules called MHC molecules. These are proteins found on our tissues. They match it. So knowing MHCs, there are different types, type 1, type 2 MHC, and importance in immunity, importance in organ transplantation. This has been a question in the past in one of the APPSC exam. Okay. So immunity and vaccines, immunity part is this. Vaccines are specified. We focus on what is actually given here in vaccines. So they are asking about concepts in vaccination, meaning how vaccines work. Working of vaccines. This is very important in COVID context. Working of vaccines. Working of vaccines. Okay. Concepts of vaccination. Traditional methods of vaccine production. Production of modern vaccines. Meaning we have to talk about categories of vaccines here. Categories of vaccines. Traditional and modern vaccines and their production. Traditional vaccines, modern vaccines. Traditional and modern vaccines. In the syllabus they have given traditional vaccine examples. DPT vaccine, rabies vaccine. One bacterial, one viral vaccine. DPT, rabies is given here. And modern vaccines, hepatitis vaccine is given, but we have so many examples of COVID vaccines. mRNA vaccines, viral vector vaccines, DNA vaccines. Okay. Covaxin. Covaxin is a modern vaccine or traditional vaccine? It's a traditional vaccine. Although made for COVID-19, whole pathogen is used in Covaxin. Covaxin is a classical vaccine, which I see many students make mistake. Covaxin is not a modern vaccine, although made now with more advanced techniques, but it uses entire pathogen. Killed, although killed virus, killed, inactivated and attenuated and toxoid vaccines are considered to be classical vaccines, traditional vaccines. It's not a modern vaccine type, although made against COVID-19. So modern vaccines include those that use components of the pathogen. DNA, mRNA, viral vector vaccines, subunit vaccines. More or less, except mRNA vaccines, we have made all those vaccines in India as well. So know each examples. Don't make errors. I have been seeing that in mock tests people have done factual errors. Okay, that gives a wrong impression. So try to avoid those mistakes. Okay. So this is about the vaccines part. This is about the S&T paper 5 part. Any questions on section 2 part? Sources. Infections, World Health Organization, WHO, excellent source. All summaries are given, more or less. Of course, not for all diseases. Nice summaries with all updated information is given on WHO website. Type the name of the infection WHO, you will get the key summary of the disease for majority of the ones. That is the best source. Biotechnology, NCERT class 12th, but not to the depth given in that. It is too deep for us. Superficially pick up information from biotechnology and especially on the areas that I have mentioned. Superficially. If they discuss in detail about restriction enzymes, ligases, electrophoresis, not needed. What are restriction enzymes, examples, how do they work? Keep it simple. But class 12th is good for some part of the infections like malarial life cycle you can study from that, but not to the extent or depth that is given on that. Okay. Immunity, class 12th NCERT. Again, superficially, but otherwise most of these things we need are covered. Except for the vaccines part. Vaccines are, they have not got into details. Vaccines, newspapers are enough. COVID-19 categories of vaccines specified. Many newspaper articles have discussed diagnostics, vaccines. Monoclonal antibodies is important. I forgot to mention monoclonal antibodies. COVID-19 we made those vaccines. In the past question has been asked, although not mentioned anywhere here. This is part of immunity because it is a type of antibodies that we can make in laboratories. Monoclonal antibodies, current strategies for treating COVID infection. Pneumococcal conjugate vaccine is a type of vaccine. You will study them in the modern vaccines. That is a different vaccine, PCV. Pneumococcal conjugate is a type of modern vaccine. That is different. Here, monoclonal antibodies is a type of treatment options that we are using for Ebola and as well as COVID-19 at the moment. Regeneron, I am not sure if you heard about Regeneron. Monoclonal antibody cocktails they are talking about. They are built based on how our immune system functions. That was a 10-marker question in the past. Its usage in diagnostics, usage in treatments, not only meant for infections, autoimmune diseases, etc. can be treated using this. Okay? Good. Very much. Science and technology, if you want to improve scores, where relevant, of course you can't just forcefully draw a diagram and explain it. Where relevant, use draw diagrams. Where relevant, use flowcharts. Like if they are asking about vaccine production strategy, filling paragraphs won't help, you lose time and it can't give the clarity. Follow flowchart methodology. And one question I usually get from students is, if I write things in flowchart, do I have to explain them? Okay, flowchart should provide the structure to the answer, like production methodologies. You say you first select antigens, identify required antigens from given virus. Okay, bulk multiplication of the pathogen, purification of the antigens. So you can have flowchart that can be crisp. On the side you are describing the information without pointing out, without the need for joining those dots. So your answer should provide structure and enough details to the examiner, and flowchart should reduce your time. Just drawing a flowchart with brief terms here and there is not going to get enough marks. Description is needed without repeating the same parts but adding details in the description part. So if you manage information between flowchart and description, you can provide all possible information that is needed. Whereas paragraphs, reading paragraphs with 4 lines, 5 lines will be too difficult to read. And another question students ask, should I write bullet points or paragraphs? I must say it is combination of both. You can't have every answer just bullet points. Introduction, give a paragraph. Then later you have to mention few points, give bullet points. Like applications, give in bullet points. Advantages, give in bullet points. Have mixture of that, paragraphs and bullet points. So flowcharts, diagrams are absolutely important. If they ask about antibodies, we have to draw antibody structure. If they ask about types of vaccines, draw viral vector vaccines. You know, outside a virus and inside DNA, genetic material with spike protein. You can nicely draw diagrams and explain it. And many newspapers have given those diagrams. You can get ideas from them. Same thing with immunodiagnostics. Let's say if they ask about ELISA technique. ELISA can be explained using a diagram where antigen binds, what is antibody, steps, flowchart and diagram. So there are certain questions which definitely require diagrams to be drawn. And this is what we usually do when we run test series programs. I usually tend to give students those, for this question, what type of diagrams are relevant. Like ELISA, how do you explain ELISA with a structure like that? Vaccines, categories of vaccines, how do you put them into diagrams? The problem is time, otherwise all these are available. Any other questions? No, sure. Or I don't think I need to explain too much for the environment part because it's very standard. Okay, do you want me to go in detail about the environment part? What do you want me to do? Okay, then let's take a break, 5-minute break, and we'll come back. Okay. Right, next part is basically the other part that I deal here is paper 4 section 3, which very classical paper, you know, traditionally in all competitive exams, UPSC etc. That is something that you probably already aware about, know about. So నేను ఇక్కడ స్పెసిఫిక్ గా మీకు డీటెయిల్డ్ గా ఇవేమని చెప్పాల్సిన అవసరం తక్కువ అని చెప్పాలి, ఎక్సెప్ట్ ఎట్లా ఆర్గనైజ్ చేసుకోవచ్చు కంటెంట్. బట్ టు బి ఫ్రాంక్ TSPSC సిలబస్ కొంచెం బెటర్ గానే ఆర్గనైజ్ చేస్తుంది ఈ పార్ట్ లో అయితే. Okay, so paper 4 section 3, 50 marks, environment and ecology part is covered here. So in case if it goes as per the schedule as given or as per the, you know, the segregation that they have done, this is section 3 part where it deals with environment and ecology. క్లియర్ గా డిఫైన్డ్ 5 యూనిట్స్ ఉన్నాయి ఇందులో. సో డెవలప్మెంట్ అండ్ ఎన్వైరన్మెంటల్ ప్రాబ్లమ్స్ అని టైటిల్ దీనికి, బట్ మోస్ట్లీ కవరింగ్ ఎన్వైరన్మెంట్ అండ్ ఎకాలజీ పార్ట్స్ హియర్. సో డెవలప్మెంట్ అండ్ ఎన్వైరన్మెంటల్ ప్రాబ్లమ్స్, ఫస్ట్ వన్ కొంచెం వేగ్గా ఉంటుంది, ఎన్వైరన్మెంట్ వర్సెస్ డెవలప్మెంట్. మోర్ ఆర్ లెస్ యూ పికప్ దిస్ ఫ్రమ్ అదర్ ఏరియాస్ హియర్, ఎన్వైరన్మెంట్ వర్సెస్ డెవలప్మెంట్. సో డెఫినేషన్ ఆఫ్ ఎన్వైరన్మెంట్, సో బ్యాక్గ్రౌండ్ టు ఎన్వైరన్మెంట్, బేసిక్స్ మీ జాగ్రఫీలో అట్లా చదువుకునే పార్ట్ ఉంటాయి కదా, అట్లా డెఫినేషన్ బేసిక్ బ్యాక్గ్రౌండ్ టు ఎన్వైరన్మెంట్, టర్మినాలజీ కానీ అలాంటివి ఇక్కడ చదువుతారు. Basic background to environment and concept of environmentalism, environmental protection policy. సో ఇందులో వేరే కొన్ని పాలసీస్ ఉన్నాయి, అవన్నీ కంబైన్ చేసి చదువుకోవాల్సి వస్తుంది. ప్రొటెక్షన్ పాలసీ అండ్ దే ఆర్ టాకింగ్ అబౌట్ పాలసీ ఇన్స్ట్రుమెంట్స్, అంటే వేరియస్ స్టెప్స్ తీసుకుంటాం కదా ఈ పాలసీ ఇంప్లిమెంట్ చేయడానికి కానీ, అండ్ అదర్ regulations that happen which allow this policy to be implemented. Okay, ఇది కొంచెం థియరిటికల్ గా బ్యాక్గ్రౌండ్, దిస్ ఇస్ మోర్ లైక్ అ బ్యాక్గ్రౌండ్ ఫర్ ఎన్వైరన్మెంట్ అనుకోండి. వాట్ ఈస్ ఎన్వైరన్మెంట్, వాట్ ఈస్ ద కాన్సెప్ట్ ఆఫ్ ఎన్వైరన్మెంటలిజం, మీనింగ్ నీడ్ ఫర్ ఎన్వైరన్మెంటల్ ప్రొటెక్షన్, దానికి సంబంధించిన రెగ్యులేషన్స్ ఏమున్నాయి, పాలసీ ఫ్రేమ్వర్క్స్ ఏమున్నాయి, అట్లా. దిస్ ఇస్ మోర్ ఆర్ లెస్ మీరు వేరే టాపిక్స్లలో వేరే యూనిట్స్లలో కవర్ చేస్తారు. ఓకే, అండ్ ముఖ్యంగా లైక్ హియర్ యూ డిస్కస్ అబౌట్ ఎన్వైరన్మెంట్ వర్సెస్ డెవలప్మెంట్. ద డిబేట్ ఇండియాలో జరుగుతుంది స్పెసిఫిక్గా. ఇప్పుడు కోస్టల్ రెగ్యులేషన్ జోన్ రూల్స్ ఉన్నాయి, ఎన్వైరన్మెంటల్ ఇంపాక్ట్ అసెస్మెంట్ ఉంది. అలాంటి వాటిలలో డెవలప్మెంట్ వైపు వెళ్ళాలా లేకపోతే ఎన్వైరన్మెంట్ ప్రొటెక్షన్ని ఫోకస్ చేయాలా అనే డిబేట్ జరుగుతుంది. అలాంటివి అడిగే క్వశ్చన్స్ పాసిబిలిటీస్ ఉన్నాయి. ట్రైబల్స్, సో ట్రైబల్స్ సంబంధించిన వాళ్ళ రైట్స్ ఉన్నాయి, దేని మీద ఫోకస్ చేయాలి, వాళ్ళు మైగ్రేట్ చేయాలా, అక్కడి నుంచి మూవ్ చేయాలా, వాటికి సంబంధించిన రూల్స్ ఏమున్నాయి ఇండియాలో, అలాంటి వాటి మీద ఈ పార్ట్లో ఫోకస్ చేస్తారు. సో మోస్ట్ ఆఫ్ దీస్ ఐడియాస్ బ్యాక్గ్రౌండ్ ఇంట్రడక్షన్ మీకు మంచి సోర్సెస్ మార్కెట్లో కూడా ఉన్నాయి. సో శంకరన్ ఐఏఎస్ సంబంధించిన బుక్స్ ఏవైతే ఉన్నాయో ఆ బుక్ మోర్ ఆర్ లెస్ కవర్స్ మెజారిటీ ఆఫ్ ది ఇయర్స్. లేదు ఐ హ్యావ్ సీన్ ఫ్యూ అదర్ బుక్స్ లేదా మల్టిపుల్ ఇన్స్టిట్యూషన్స్ హ్యావ్ రిలీజ్డ్ బుక్లెట్స్. కంటెంట్కి ఇక్కడ ఏం మనకు ప్రాబ్లం లేదు. ఓకే, ఆల్రెడీ యూపీఎస్సీ ఆస్పిరెంట్స్ అయితే మోర్ ఆర్ లెస్ దీని మీద ఆల్రెడీ ఫోకస్ చేసేసి ఉంటారు చాలా ఏరియాస్. సో యూనిట్ 1. యూనిట్ 2 రిసోర్సెస్. యూనిట్ 2 focuses on resources, natural resources. Lot of factual data మీరు పార్ట్లీ జాగ్రఫీలో చదువుకుంటారు. ఇవి న్యాచురల్ రిసోర్సెస్ పార్ట్లీ ఎనర్జీలో కూడా డిస్కస్ చేసినాం మనం. పార్ట్లీ దే హావ్ బీన్ డిస్కస్డ్ ఇన్ ఎక్స్క్యూజ్ మీ ఎనర్జీ. సో క్లియర్గా అడిగారు ఫారెస్ట్ రిసోర్సెస్. సో ఫారెస్ట్ సంబంధించి ఫస్ట్ పార్ట్ ఈజ్ మోస్ట్లీ ఆన్ ఫారెస్ట్ రిసోర్సెస్, commercialization of forests, ఓకే. సో ఫస్ట్ పార్ట్లో మనం అనుకున్నాం కదా లెజిస్లేషన్స్ కానీ డెవలప్మెంట్ వర్సెస్ ఎన్వైరన్మెంట్లో ఉన్నట్టుగా దే స్పెసిఫైడ్ ఫారెస్ట్ యాక్ట్ వర్సెస్ ఫారెస్ట్ డ్వెలర్స్. సో ఇది ఇక్కడ కవర్ చేయొచ్చు లేదా ఇక్కడ సపరేట్గా ఫారెస్ట్ గురించి ఇచ్చారు కనుక ఫారెస్ట్ డ్వెల్లర్స్ సంబంధించిన ఇష్యూస్ అవుతున్నాయి బాగానే తెలంగాణలో కూడా. అలాంటిని దృష్టిలో పెట్టుకొని యూ కెన్ ప్రిపేర్ టువర్డ్స్ what is right, what is wrong, and how regulations are focusing, especially dilution of this protection act మీద ఎక్కువగా ఆ డైరెక్షన్లో ఫోకస్ ఎక్కువగా ఉంది. ఓకే, సో ఫారెస్ట్ డ్వెలర్స్ యూజర్స్. తర్వాత వాటర్ రిసోర్సెస్, ఫారెస్ట్ వాటర్ ఇందులో సర్ఫేస్ వాటర్, గ్రౌండ్ వాటర్ రిసోర్సెస్, సర్ఫేస్ వాటర్, గ్రౌండ్ వాటర్. సో బేసిక్గా మీరు జాగ్రఫీలో చదువుకుంటారా? దీస్ ఏరియాస్ రిసోర్సెస్ తెలంగాణ జాగ్రఫీ వాటిలో చదువుకుంటారా? ఓవరాల్గా ఇండియాలో గ్రౌండ్ రిసోర్సెస్ అంటే గ్రౌండ్ వాటర్ ఎంత ఉంది, సర్ఫేస్ వాటర్ ఎంత ఉంది, ఎక్కడుంది, డిస్ట్రిబ్యూషన్, ఇలాంటి ఐడియా అనమాట. సో స్టాటిస్టిక్స్ కావాలి దీనికి మనకు. గ్రౌండ్ వాటర్, సర్ఫేస్ వాటర్ అండ్ కంపీటింగ్ డిమాండ్ ఫర్ వాటర్. అంటే బేసిక్గా కాన్ఫ్లిక్ట్ ఎక్కడ వస్తుంది, అగ్రికల్చర్ యూసేజ్ కానీ ఇండస్ట్రియల్ యూసేజ్ కానీ అట్లా కంపీటింగ్ ఇంట్రెస్ట్ అనమాట. కంపీటింగ్ యూస్ అంటే వాటర్ని ఏ సెక్టర్లో ఎంతెంత వాడుతున్నారు, యూసేజ్ ఎక్కడ ఎక్కువ అవుతుంది. ఇక్కడ కొంచెం కావాలంటే రెగ్యులేటరీ మన పాలసీ ఫ్రేమ్వర్క్ గవర్నమెంట్ ప్రోగ్రామ్స్ ప్రకారం ఏమైనా బెటర్గా చేయొచ్చా, వాటర్ షెడ్ మేనేజ్మెంట్ ప్రోగ్రామ్స్ అలాంటివి ఉన్నాయి ఇండియాలో, అవి అర్థం చేసుకోవడం. అన్నీ కూడా స్టాండర్డ్ ఇన్ఫర్మేషన్ ఇవన్నీ ఈ ఫీల్డ్లో. కంపీటింగ్ డిమాండ్ ఫర్ వాటర్. సో డ్రింకింగ్, ఇండస్ట్రియల్, అగ్రికల్చర్ ఈ మూడు ఇచ్చారు. డ్రింకింగ్ వాటర్, ఇండస్ట్రియల్, అగ్రికల్చర్. సో అగ్రికల్చర్, ఇండస్ట్రీ ఈ మూడిటికి బ్రీఫ్ కంపారిజన్ చదువుకోవాలి వాటర్ యూసేజ్ మీద. సో తర్వాత ఫారెస్ట్, వాటర్, ల్యాండ్ రిసోర్సెస్. ఓకే, సో ల్యాండ్ దేనికి వాడుతున్నాం, ఎక్కడ వాడుతున్నాం, కంపీటింగ్ ఇంట్రెస్ట్ ఏంటి బేసిక్గా. సో డిఫరెంట్ ల్యాండ్ రిసోర్సెస్ ఒక బ్రీఫ్ ఐడియా ఉండాలి. లైక్ ఇక్కడ సాయిల్స్, టైప్స్ ఆఫ్ సాయిల్స్ ఎక్సెట్రా జాగ్రఫీలో మీరు చదివేవి కూడా ఇక్కడ ఓవర్లాప్ అవుతాయి. సో ల్యాండ్ రిసోర్సెస్, కంపీటింగ్ యూజ్ ఆఫ్ ల్యాండ్ ఫర్ ఫుడ్, ల్యాండ్ ఫర్ ఫీడ్, ల్యాండ్ ఫర్ ఫ్యూయల్, ల్యాండ్ ఫర్ ఫైబర్. సో అగ్రికల్చర్ యాక్టివిటీస్ కానీ సో ఫుడ్ ప్రొడక్షన్కి, ఫీడ్ ప్రొడక్షన్కి, ఈవెన్ ఫ్యూయల్ ప్రొడక్షన్కి లైక్ బయోఫ్యూయల్ లాంటి క్రాప్స్ గ్రో చేయడం అలాంటి వాటి మీద ఫోకస్ చేయాలి. ఫైబర్ వీటిలో చాలా వరకు డిస్ట్రిబ్యూషన్, ల్యాండ్ యూసేజ్, టైప్స్ ఇవన్నీ ఫ్యాక్చువల్గా చదువుతాం. ల్యాండ్ రిసోర్స్ మేనేజ్మెంట్. తర్వాత మైనింగ్ అండ్ ఎన్వైర్న్మెంట్ ప్రాబ్లం, అది కూడా ఇందులో వస్తుంది, ఎన్వైర్న్మెంట్ డెవలప్మెంట్లో వస్తుంది ఆ ప్రాబ్లం ఇందులోంచి. సో మైనింగ్ యాక్టివిటీస్ ఇవి చాలా స్టాండర్డ్ క్వశ్చన్స్. మైనింగ్ పొటెన్షియల్ ఇష్యూస్ ఆఫ్ మైనింగ్ ఏంటి, ఒకటి రిసోర్స్ ఆస్పెక్ట్లో చూడాలి, ఇంకొకటి ఎన్వైర్న్మెంట్ అండ్ డెవలప్మెంట్ డిబేట్ ఆస్పెక్ట్లో చూడాలి. ఇక్కడ మైనింగ్ అండ్ ఎన్వైర్న్మెంట్. సో బేసిక్గా ఇష్యూస్ విత్ మైనింగ్ మీద ఫోకస్ చేయాలి. అండ్ హౌ డూ యూ బ్యాలెన్స్ నీడ్ ఫర్ రిసోర్సెస్ ఫర్ వేరియస్ ఇండస్ట్రియల్ డెవలప్మెంట్ ఆస్పెక్ట్స్ వర్సెస్ డ్యామేజ్ టు ఎన్వైర్న్మెంట్. స్టేట్స్ వైజ్ కొన్ని ఇవి కూడా ఉన్నాయి, మైనింగ్ పాలసీస్ ఉన్నాయి, నేషనల్ మైనింగ్ పాలసీ ఉంది. మన దగ్గర మైనింగ్ ఎట్లా రెగ్యులేట్ చేస్తున్నారు తెలంగాణలో, అలాంటి వాటి మీద ఫోకస్ చేయాలి. శాండ్ మైనింగ్ ఎస్పెషల్లీ కెన్ బి సీన్ యాజ్ అ బిగ్ ప్రాబ్లం. Okay, so aspect can come under environment and development, but given under unit 2. And then sustainability of natural resources. Overall ga meer environment development concept lone sustainability explain cheyali. Asalu sustainability ante enti, sustainable measures etla teeskuntaru. Ikkada you can focus on SDGs, sustainable development goals ni connect cheskuntu information gather cheyali. Okay, sustainability undalante ippudu for example environmental impact assessment lanti vaat role enti chadukovali ikkada. EIA role enti, sustainability ni etla address chestundi, fuel resources ni etla limited ga need ప్రకారం యూస్ చేసుకోవాలి, మూవింగ్ టు రెన్యూబుల్ రిసోర్సెస్, ఇలాంటి కాన్సెప్ట్స్ అన్ని కూడా సస్టైనబిలిటీ ఫోకస్ చేయాలి. ఇట్లా సెట్ ఆఫ్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ మనం ఆల్రెడీ వేరే యూనిట్స్లో చదువుతాం, దే కెన్ బి యాడెడ్ హియర్. థర్డ్ వచ్చేసి ఎకాలజీ అండ్ బయోడైవర్సిటీ. థర్డ్ యూనిట్ ఈస్ ఫోకసింగ్ ఆన్ ఈకోసిస్టమ్స్ అండ్ బయోడైవర్సిటీ. ఇందులో మెయిన్గా కాన్సెప్ట్స్ టర్మినాలజీస్ ఆర్ ఇంపార్టెంట్. కాన్సెప్ట్స్ టర్మినాలజీస్ మీరు ప్రిలిమ్స్కి చదువుకొని ఉంటారు కదా, కొంచెం ఎక్స్టెన్షన్ టు దట్. కాన్సెప్ట్స్ అండ్ టర్మినాలజీ లైక్ ఫుడ్ చైన్ అంటే ఏంటి, బయోమ్ అంటే ఏంటి, హ్యాబిటాట్ అంటే ఏంటి. సో టర్మినాలజీ, డిఫరెంట్ టైప్స్ ఆఫ్ ఫుడ్ చైన్స్. సో types of food chains draw చేయగలగాలి, types of food chains, and also types of ecosystems మీద ఫోకస్ చేయాలి. types of ecosystems so typology of ecosystems. అట్లాగే సెకండ్ పార్ట్ ఇందులో వచ్చేసి బయోడైవర్సిటీ. సో బయోడైవర్సిటీలో ఫోకస్ ఆన్ రిచ్నెస్. ఇండియాలో బయోడైవర్సిటీ ఆస్పెక్ట్స్ ఎట్లా ఉన్నాయి, స్టాటిస్టిక్స్, రిచ్నెస్. ఓకే, అట్లాగే హాట్స్పాట్స్, ఇండియాలో బయోడైవర్సిటీ హాట్స్పాట్స్, బయోడైవర్సిటీ మెజర్స్, డిఫరెంట్ ప్రాజెక్ట్స్ ఉన్నాయి కదా బయోడైవర్సిటీ మెజర్స్, ప్రాజెక్ట్ ఎలిఫెంట్ కానీ, రైనో విజన్ కానీ. ఓకే, సో లయన్స్, చీతాస్ ఈ మధ్యలో. సో ఇలాంటివన్నీ ఇక్కడ వీ హ్యావ్ టు బ్రీఫ్లీ also collect information related to international measures. ఇప్పుడు IUCN, Red Book, Red Data Book, okay, and then CBD. అట్లాగే we have different conventions ఉన్నాయి కదా, అలాంటి వాటిని కూడా కలెక్ట్ చేయాలి కన్జర్వేషన్. ఓకే, సో కన్జర్వేషన్ మెజర్స్, డిఫరెంట్ కన్జర్వేషన్ ప్రాజెక్ట్స్ మీద ఫోకస్ చేయాలి ఇక్కడ. సో ఇంటర్నేషనల్ మెజర్స్ ఏవైతే ఉన్నాయో వాటి మీద ఫోకస్ చేయాలి. ఎన్వైరన్మెంట్లో ఎనీవే మనం క్లైమేట్ చేంజ్లో డిస్కస్ చేస్తాం, కాప్స్ లాంటివి, COP 21, COP 26, ఈ మధ్య COP 26. ఇందులో కొన్ని స్పెసిఫిక్ పాలసీస్ కూడా ఉన్నాయి ఇండియాలో. మనకు ఐ థింక్ హియర్ విల్ డిస్కస్ ఎన్వైరన్మెంటల్ ప్రొటెక్షన్ పాలసీ ఉంది, EPA ఉంది, అలాంటివి. ఓకే, అండ్ నేషనల్ NBT, నేషనల్ బయోడైవర్సిటీ అథారిటీ, NBA ఉంది. So we also have couple of things, like couple of organizations. I think climate change lo discuss chestam malli manam. So indulo range of sub topics unnai, ikkada scope undi manaku ekku adaganiki. Aa conventions, organizations, okay, LMOs, GMOs sambandhinchina agreements unnai kada, alantivi. So vaati meeda focus cheyali. So overall ga national ga international ga biodiversity measures overall understanding avasram ikkada. Indulo chaala short notes, స్ట్రైట్ ఫార్వర్డ్ 10 మార్కర్ క్వశ్చన్స్ వచ్చే అవకాశం ఉంది. బయోడైవర్సిటీ, కన్జర్వేషన్స్, టైప్స్ ఆఫ్ బయోడైవర్సిటీ, థ్రెట్స్. ఈ కన్జర్వేషన్కి నీడ్ ఏంటి అంటే థ్రెట్స్ గురించి రాయాలి ఇక్కడ, నీడ్. సో వాట్ ఆర్ ద డిఫరెంట్ థ్రెట్స్. ఇది వెల్ డిఫైన్డ్ ఏరియా, చాలా కంటెంట్ ఉంటుంది అగైన్ మనకు ఇందులో, సబ్ టాపిక్స్తో సహా అన్నీ దొరుకుతాయి. ఎందుకంటే UPSC ప్రిపరేషన్ సంబంధించి కంటెంట్ బోల్డ్ అంత ఉంటుంది. ఓకే, so unit 3 and unit 4 pollution, mostly focusing on pollution and waste management. Pollution and waste management, ఇది కూడా straight forward. ఇందులో types of pollution, different regulations in India, అంటే ఏం స్టెప్స్ తీసుకున్నాం పొల్యూషన్స్ తగ్గించడానికి, మెజర్స్ ఏంటి, స్టాటిస్టిక్స్ అవసరం, సెంట్రల్ పొల్యూషన్ కంట్రోల్ బోర్డ్ నుంచి స్టాటిస్టిక్స్ తీసుకోవడం. సో పొల్యూషన్ అండ్ సాలిడ్ వేస్ట్ మేనేజ్మెంట్. environmental pollution and solid waste management. Okay, so brief ga solid waste enti, solid waste types enti, solid waste types of solid waste, scenario of generation of solid waste, enta solid waste generate avutundi, what is leading to this excess amount of generation, plastic usage kavachu, urbanization kavachu. Okay, factors that are leading to generation of solid waste. What is the impact of solid waste? Health మీద కానీ, environment మీద కానీ, okay, resource management మీద కానీ, impact of solid waste. And ఇండియాలో, although not mentioned, I think we definitely need to focus on management. అసలు సాలిడ్ వేస్ట్ మేనేజ్మెంట్ ఎట్లా అవుతుంది ఇండియాలో, దీనికి కొన్ని స్టాండర్డ్ ప్రిన్సిపల్స్ ఉన్నాయి, స్ట్రాటజీ ఉంది మనకు. సాలిడ్ వేస్ట్ మేనేజ్మెంట్ ప్రిన్సిపల్స్ ఏంటి, ఏం స్ట్రాటజీ ఫాలో అవుతున్నాం. ఓకే, టు మినిమైజ్ ది ఇంపాక్ట్ ఆఫ్ దిస్ వేస్ట్ అండ్ డెఫినెట్లీ ఫోకసింగ్ ఆన్ దీస్ కాన్సెప్ట్స్, రీసైక్లింగ్, రీయూస్. సో యాక్చువల్గా ఈ RRR ఫార్ములా మీద ఫోకస్ చేయాలి, రెడ్యూస్, రీయూజ్, రీసైకిల్. రెడ్యూస్, రీయూజ్, రీసైకిల్, ఈ మెజర్స్. ఓకే, సో ఇందులో స్పెసిఫై చేయండి మనం పొల్యూషన్లో ఎంత చదువుకోవాలి, బికాస్ దే టాక్డ్ అబౌట్ సాలిడ్ వేస్ట్ మేనేజ్మెంట్ మోస్ట్లీ ఇయర్. పొల్యూషన్ పార్ట్కి వచ్చేసరికి టైప్స్ ఆఫ్ పొల్యూషన్ ప్రిపేర్ అవ్వాలి. టైప్స్ ఆఫ్ పొల్యూషన్ మీరు యాక్చువల్గా APPSC సిలబస్ చూస్తే దే స్పెసిఫైడ్ ఇట్. టైప్స్ ఆఫ్ పొల్యూషన్, ఓకే, ఇంపాక్ట్ ఆఫ్ పొల్యూషన్, measures taken to mitigate this. ఈ మూడు ఆస్పెక్ట్స్ మీద ఫోకస్ చేయండి. ఇట్ కుడ్ బి ఎయిర్ పొల్యూషన్, వాటర్ పొల్యూషన్, సాయిల్ పొల్యూషన్, సౌండ్ పొల్యూషన్, బయోమెడికల్ వేస్ట్, అలాంటి వాటి మీద, ప్లాస్టిక్ వేస్ట్, ఈ మధ్య వచ్చిన కొత్త మార్పులు చూసాం కదా, కీప్ దెమ్ ఇన్ మైండ్ అండ్ రైట్ అబౌట్ వై దే ఆర్ నీడెడ్. అట్లాగే ఓజోన్ డిప్లీషన్ లాంటి వాటిని కంట్రోల్ చేయడానికి వాడుతున్నవి, అలాంటి పొల్యూటెంట్ సబ్స్టెన్సెస్ ఉన్నాయి కదా, వాటి గురించి, అవి మీరు క్లైమేట్ చేంజ్లో కూడా వస్తాయి అదర్వైజ్ హియర్. సో టైప్స్ ఆఫ్ పొల్యూషన్, ఇంపాక్ట్ ఆఫ్ పొల్యూషన్, మెజర్స్ టేకెన్ బై గవర్నమెంట్ టు డీల్ విత్ పొల్యూషన్. ఓకే, రెగ్యులేషన్స్ ఉన్నాయి, డెడికేటెడ్ రెగ్యులేషన్స్ ఉన్నాయి, కీ ప్రిన్సిపల్స్ చదువుకోవాలి వాటికి సంబంధించి. దట్ ఈస్ 4. అండ్ యూనిట్ 5 సో గ్లోబల్ ఎన్వైరన్మెంటల్ ఇష్యూస్ ఇక్కడ, విచ్ కెన్ అగైన్ టైడ్ బ్యాక్ ఇన్ టు ఎన్వైరన్మెంట్ వర్సెస్ డెవలప్మెంట్ డిబేట్. ముఖ్యంగా గ్లోబల్ వార్మింగ్ అండ్ క్లైమేట్ చేంజ్ ఇక్కడ ఫోకస్ చేస్తాం. సో గ్లోబల్ ఎన్వైరన్మెంటల్ ఇష్యూస్, క్లైమేట్ చేంజ్, గ్లోబల్ వార్మింగ్, ఓకే, సో ఇంపాక్ట్. సో క్లైమేట్ చేంజ్, గ్లోబల్ వార్మింగ్లలో వాట్ వీ నీడ్ టు స్టడీ అబౌట్ స్టాటిస్టిక్స్, రిపోర్ట్స్ ఏవైనా ఉంటే, specific reports, like India ki first dedicated report came in 2020, Ministry of Earth Sciences release chesindi. Leda different contexts lalo we do get reports on how temperatures are changing or varying, all aspects. It okavela snow melting gaani, flooding gaani, frequency of rainfall gaani, change gaani, spacing between idi gaani, drought gaani. So those aspects are clearly specified, standard reports unnai vitiki man. So statistics, changes, impact of climate change, impact of global warming, factors. Even before this you focus on factors. What is causing global warming, what is leading to climate change, Indian scenario, specific ga Indian scenario chadudam. Okay, so వీటిలలో mostly focus on these two aspects. Global warming, what is causing global warming, so what are the factors, what is the impact, what is the current scenario, measures. International measures, IUCN gaani, lekapothe Indialo recently we have updated our contributions, nationally determined contributions unnai kada, NDCs unnai kada, avi gaani, manaku local climate change policy framework emundi, ఇవన్నీ చదువుకోవాలి. సో గ్లోబల్ మెజర్స్ అండ్ నేషనల్ మెజర్స్ రెండింటి మీద ఫోకస్ చేయాలి. ఇక్కడ ఖచ్చితంగా చదవాల్సినవి థింగ్స్ లైక్ COP21, COP26, different other conventions. Either they are related to, as I was mentioning before, like those that are degrading the, so one, ozone layer depletion, substances unnai kada, ozone layer depletion, acid rain, right, desertification. So ilanti vaatiki sambandhinchini focus cheyali. Migration due to climate change, ilanti aspects anni idi global ga untundi, and more or less ee areas baga define cheyabadi unnai. సో ఒక రకంగా ఈ పార్ట్కి మీకు చదవడంలో కానీ ప్రిపేర్ అవ్వడంలో కానీ డిఫికల్టీ ఉండదు. కంటెంట్ అంతా బాగా వెల్ డిఫైన్డ్గా, గుడ్ అమౌంట్ ఆఫ్ సోర్సెస్ మార్కెట్లో మీకు ఎనఫ్ ఆప్షన్స్ కనిపిస్తాయి, చదివేయచ్చు. మీరు వేరే అన్ని కాంపిటేటివ్ ఎగ్జామ్స్ కూడా చదువుతారు, ప్రిలిమ్స్ కూడా పార్ట్లీ చదివేసి ఉంటారు. సో నాకు తెలిసి ఇది స్ట్రైట్ ఫార్వర్డ్ పెద్ద డిఫికల్ట్ పేపర్ కాదు. బట్ కంటెంట్, కరెక్ట్ కంటెంట్ కలెక్ట్ చేసుకోవడం, లుకింగ్ ఇన్ టు రైట్ డైమెన్షన్స్ ఈజ్ ప్రాబ్లీ ఏ ఛాలెంజ్. అండ్ వేర్ పాసిబుల్ కొన్ని మన తెలంగాణ కాంటెక్స్ట్ రిలేటెడ్ థింగ్స్ యాడ్ చేసుకోవడం. ఇండియా స్టాటిస్టిక్స్ ఉండాలి, ఫోకస్ హ్యాస్ టు బి స్టేట్ కంటే కూడా ఇండియా ఫోకస్డే ఉండాలి. ఎక్కడైనా మనకు స్టేట్ వైడ్ రిలవెన్స్ ఉంటే మెన్షన్ చేయగలగాలి స్టాట్స్, అంతే తప్ప ఇండియన్ పిక్చర్, ఇండియన్ సినారియో మీద ఫోకస్ చేయాలి. కంపారిజన్, ఎందుకంటే కొన్ని గ్లోబల్ కన్వెన్షన్స్ ద్వారా మనం వాటిని ఫాలో అవుతున్నాం కదా, కన్జర్వేషన్ మెజర్స్ కావచ్చు, కలెక్షన్ ఆఫ్ ఇన్ఫర్మేషన్ కావచ్చు, టార్గెట్స్ కావచ్చు, మన రెన్యూబుల్ ఎనర్జీ సెక్టర్ వల్ల కానీ, లేదు ఏమిన్ కన్జర్వేషన్ వల్ల కానీ, ఓజోన్ డిప్లీషన్ కానీ, పొల్యూషన్ కంట్రోల్లో ప్లాస్టిక్స్ కానీ, అవి ఇంటర్నేషనల్ కాంటెక్స్లో ఎట్లా ఫిట్ అవుతాయి అనేది చూసుకుంటూ యూ హ్యావ్ టు వర్క్. ఓకే, ఇది స్ట్రైట్ ఫార్వర్డ్. సో చాలా ఎక్స్పెక్టెడ్ క్వశ్చన్స్ ఇందులో, హ్యూజ్ అమౌంట్ ఆఫ్ పాసిబిలిటీ ఆఫ్ క్వశ్చన్స్. అన్ని సోర్సెస్లో వాటర్ షెడ్ మేనేజ్మెంట్ దగ్గర నుంచి, గ్లోబల్ వార్మింగ్, కరెంట్ సినారియో, మెజర్స్, ఓకే, ఫారెస్ట్ డెవలప్స్ ఇష్యూ, ఇవన్నీ కూడా 10 మార్కర్ పాసిబుల్ ఏరియాస్. చాలా 10 మార్కర్ పాసిబుల్ ఏరియాస్ ఉన్నాయి ఇందులో. ఎకలాజికల్ సెన్సిటివ్ జోన్స్ అని, బయోడైవర్సిటీ మెజర్స్లో స్పెసిఫిక్ ప్రాజెక్ట్స్ గురించి, ఇలాంటివి చాలా స్కోప్. బట్ వెల్ డిఫైన్డ్, మీరు ఆల్రెడీ ఫెమిలియారిటీ ఉండుంటుంది ఈ ఏరియాతో, పెద్ద ప్రాబ్లం ఉండదు ప్రిపరేషన్. ఓకే, సోర్సెస్, వెల్ డిఫైన్డ్ సోర్సెస్ మార్కెట్లో ఉన్నాయి. ఐ హావ్ నార్మలీ సీన్ కపుల్ ఆఫ్ సోర్సెస్. ఐ థింక్ స్టాండర్డ్గా అందరూ శంకర్ ఐఏఎస్ అవుతారు, రైట్? సో అది కాకుండా I'm not recollecting the name of that. అంటే సిమిలర్గా మోర్ ఆర్ లెస్ కంటెంట్ వైజ్ మీరు 4 బుక్లు చదవాల్సిన అవసరం లేదు, జస్ట్ సింగిల్ బుక్. లేదు యూపీఎస్సీ మెటీరియల్ దాదాపుగా అన్నీ కవర్ చేస్తాయి. పిఎంఎఫ్ ఐఏఎస్ రెగ్యులర్గా కవర్ చేస్తుంది ఈ కంటెంట్ అంతా. అలాంటివి ఈవెన్ దృష్టి ఐఏఎస్, డజంట్ మ్యాటర్. స్టిక్ ఆన్ టు వన్ సోర్స్ వేర్ ఇట్ ఈస్ నైస్లీ ఎక్స్ప్లెయిన్డ్ విత్ నైస్ స్ట్రక్చర్, ఫాలో దట్. ఓకే, అది. సో కంటెంట్ మీద ఫోకస్ చేయండి, depending on what you decide to do. People who already have some experience, some understanding, content collect cheyandi. Too many sources ku vellakandi, best sources nunchi content collect cheyandi. Possible dimensions ఆలోచించి questions answers frame చేసుకోండి. ఎందుకంటే వేర్ స్టూడెంట్స్ ఫెయిల్ టు అండర్స్టాండ్, ఎక్కువ చదివేసినా రివైజ్ చేసుకునేంత వరకు మాత్రమే ఎగ్జామ్లో రాయగలుగుతారు. బ్రీఫ్గా ఏదో ఒక పారాగ్రాఫ్ రాసేస్తే సరిపోదు. ఓవరాల్ స్ట్రక్చర్ మైండ్లో ఉండాలి అన్ని ఆన్సర్స్కి, అన్ని డైమెన్షన్స్కి. కంటెంట్ని బిల్డ్ చేసుకుంటూ పోండి ఆ డైమెన్షన్స్లలో. ప్రతి దానికి ఈ టాపిక్కి ఏం డైమెన్షన్స్, ఏం క్వశ్చన్ వస్తే ఏం ఆన్సర్. అంటే ఎగ్జామ్కి వెళ్ళే ముందు మీరు ఆన్సర్ ప్రిపేర్ అయిపోవాలి. అక్కడ వెళ్ళి ఆన్సర్ని ఫార్ములేట్ చేసుకునే అనేది ఇంపాసిబుల్. మీకు ఎన్ని మినిట్స్ ఉంటుంది మామూలుగా ఒక ఆన్సర్ రాయడానికి? అబౌట్ 12 మినిట్స్ ఉంటుంది. అందులో అప్రాక్సిమేట్లీ 2 మినిట్స్ ఆలోచించడానికి పోతే 10 మినిట్స్, రివైజ్ చేసుకోవడానికి 2, 7-8 మినిట్సే ఉంటుంది. ఓకే, సో మ్యాక్సిమం ఎగ్జాంపుల్స్, ప్రాపర్ స్ట్రక్చర్. ఎగ్జామినర్కి ఆన్సర్ చూడంగానే స్ట్రక్చర్ అర్థం కావాలి. క్లమ్జీగా అక్కడిక్కడ నింపేసి మొత్తం పారాగ్రాఫ్స్ రాసేయకుండా స్ట్రక్చర్, ఆన్సర్ స్ట్రక్చర్ విజిబుల్గా ఉండాలి. ఎందుకంటే సైకలాజికల్గా మేము పేపర్ దిద్దేటప్పుడు ఫస్ట్ వచ్చే ఇంప్రెషన్ ఏంటంటే ఈ కంటెంట్ బాగా రాసినట్టున్నాడు అనే ఫీలింగ్ వస్తుంది. టర్మ్స్ స్టార్ట్ చేయండి, డిఫైన్ టర్మ్స్. ఓకే, కీ మేజర్ క్వశ్చన్ ఏంటి దాని మీద ఫోకస్ చేయండి. ఇంట్రడక్షన్ ఒక పారాగ్రాఫ్, 2-3 పారాగ్రాఫ్లు ఇచ్చేసారనుకోండి, స్పేస్ అంతా పోతుంది, టైం పోతుంది. అక్కడ స్టూడెంట్స్ విల్ ఫేస్ ప్రాబ్లం. రైటింగ్ ప్రాక్టీస్ ఇస్ మస్ట్. మీరు ఎంత చదవండి, రైటింగ్ ప్రాక్టీస్ చేయకపోతే మాత్రం ఎగ్జామ్లో పేపర్ మీద ఇన్ టైంలో పెట్టలేరు. మీరు సొంతగా రాసుకుంటారా, టెస్ట్ సిరీస్ అటెండ్ అవుతారా, గ్రూప్స్లో అటెండ్ అవుతారా, మీ చాయిస్. మీకు ఆల్రెడీ ఎక్స్పీరియన్స్ ఉంటుంది, డిసైడ్ వాట్ యూ వాంట్. బట్ గివెన్ ద షార్ట్ టైం, గైడెన్స్ తీసుకొని, కంటెంట్ చేతిలో తీసుకొని ప్రిపేర్ అవుతే మాత్రం బెటర్ స్కోప్. ఎందుకంటే తెలంగాణలో ఇప్పుడున్న పోస్టులు మనకు ముందు రావడం కష్టం. ఇది మన అందరూ యూనిక్ ఆపర్చునిటీ. మీరు దాన్ని మీ స్టాండర్డ్స్ని బట్టి, మీ బ్యాక్గ్రౌండ్ బట్టి ఎట్లా యూజ్ చేసుకుంటారనేది మీ చాయిస్.